What's happening in America today? Are men still men, or are we turning into a nation of wimps? Here with us today to discuss this important issue is Alfonso Rachel, Jan Morgan, and Bill Whittle. And we're going to discuss that issue and more on today's episode of PolitiChicks. The women's movement opened the door to all kinds of possibilities for women in the workforce and also in the political arena. Women are bosses, world travelers, and are even running for president. But where does that leave the men? Are men as ready to fight for our country as all the powerful women and mothers seem to be? Well, what do you say, men? Are dudes?
What I say is the guys who I see out there who are mostly popping caps on the bad guys are the same kind of men that have always been out there, and I don't think anybody can doubt that the soldiers that we field today are the best men that the United States has ever put in the field. Men and women, I should say, because they're out there too. The soldiers we see out there today are not just the most lethal soldiers we've ever fielded. They have to be marriage counselors, they have to be business advisors, soccer judges, they have to be traffic cops. They have to do an incredibly difficult job. They don't just have to go up Mount Suribachi and shoot bad guys anymore. They have to be incredibly careful, multitasking guys, and they're the best people we've ever had as soldiers. The essence of the toughness out there on the guys on the front lines is not up for discussion, in my opinion. But the issue at home, that's a whole nother story.
Well, I know from the two guys, do you feel like the feminist movement has really demasculated men? I mean,
you know, I would have to totally agree with that. And
your lowest voice possible.
And yes, this is my natural. My voice is naturally this deep. But yeah. Domestically, we do seem to have a problem with. We are missing the men. And you know, we're missing the men. One way that this is displayed is that we're missing the men in the home. You know, and we're allowing the government to take care of our kids. You know, I hear some people even say sometimes, you know, maybe we need to make sure that everybody does, all these kids do a term in the military. You know, that'll make a man out of them. It's like, no, you don't need the military or the government to make a man out of your kids. You need to be a man and raise your own kids.
Wow.
You know, that's the parent's job. It's not the military's job to make a man out of your kids. Yeah, exactly. What a concept. But, you know, we are missing that, and, you know, it's hopefully we can get a chance to get that back.
Doesn't it seem like there's a switch in testosterone? That on the liberal side, that is, that the men have a little less and the women have a lot more.
Yeah, and that's why they're so miserable.
But in all fairness,
they are miserable. I just have to say this.
But I think, in all fairness, though, I don't think it's just on that side. I think in general we are seeing the feminization of men and we're seeing the masculinization of women. There's an intentional agenda to erode the natural lines that we have, the differences between us.
But there's a statistically significant difference between the level of happiness between conservatives and liberals. Conservatives are consistently more happy than liberals, and one of the reasons they're more happy than liberals is they don't have to labor under this imposed idea of role reversal. I believe that people should be free to live whatever roles they want to, but nevertheless, certain roles are built into our biology. Conservatives are much more comfortable with that. That's one of the reasons why they're so much happier than liberals. And you see these, boy, I live in the People's Republic of Santa Monica. It doesn't get much worse than that. And you see these guys who are just these beaten down, hangdog, you know, yes, dear, and these angry women who are just constantly pushing them around and belittling them at every turn. And I don't blame the women. I don't. I just want to take the guys and just smack them. Yeah. Come with me. We got a lot of talking to do. And we don't have a lot of time. So let's see if we can make this clear. You know, in an emergency, it's your job to stand up. It's not her job. It's your job. And the only thing I will say that's encouraging is I do believe this is biologically inbred into us. I saw 300, the movie about the Spartans, and I saw it in Santa Monica, and I saw 15-year-old boys coming out of that movie like, okay, I got it. I finally have a role model. I understand it now. My job is to get the spear, get in front of my wife and kids, and hold these barbarians up. It's what I'm supposed to do. And they connect to it instantly.
But then they go home and then they're told, no, put the spear down.
If you look at women today, women who embrace the traditional role of the woman and the conservative woman, they're demonized by the media. Look at what Sarah Palin went through. Look at Michelle Bachmann, who had to defend traditional marriage.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
Well,
And-
these are women who don't mind saying that, or like Michelle Bachmann, she got in trouble for saying, quoting scripture.
About wives submit to your husbands.
But here's the thing, but she didn't follow through with the scripture, and anybody else who heard that statement didn't look at the rest of the scripture. It's like, wives, submit to your own husband. Matter of fact, it says, wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands. Meaning that only a woman can do this. She can't be made to do it, right? And it has to be to her own man. Any other man can kiss her grits, but it has to be her own man that she submits to. And then on the other side of that condition is that husbands, you have to give yourselves completely to your wives.
Yes, love your
Now that's
wives.
where a real
Absolutely.
man comes in, but we don't have a lot of that anymore.
Why would they demonize her for saying something that logical though? That's just normal. That's the way it's supposed to be.
It
when
is
you're
the natural
married.
order of things, but
Well, it's her normal, but when you look at the cross-section of women today in America, there's a very diverse population of women. And so what is normal to her may not necessarily be normal to other women. And women who do not embrace Christian ideology don't understand that. They don't understand that there's, even though you submit to your husband, there is a mutual amount of respect and submission that's supposed to go on there. And,
So
and
would
they,
the Islamic idea be better?
misinterpret.
Yeah,
Oh, geez.
Wow.
Let's not talk about that.
Well, but actually, but speaking in a way in relation to that, I mean, we do see that a lot of this has now been passed down to where this generation, that's in essence all they know because it is the post-feminist era. But can that be reversed? What needs to happen for men to rise up and be the manly men they were called to be?
Yeah.
What needs to
I
happen?
don't think there's much rising up to do. You're either born with it or you're not, and you either understand it or you don't. What happens in our society is the people that control pop culture are constantly re-educating and re-engineering the human species.
Yep.
And so that's why, for example, this big firestorm now in the geek community is they've re-edited Star Wars so that Han Solo didn't shoot first. He had a gun level at his head. This guy says, "I'm about to kill you." In 1977, in the original version, Han Solo blows that guy away because if he hadn't, he'd be dead. Now
And I
George
love
Lucas,
that.
Of
Women
course,
love that
everybody
scene.
loved it. The
Women
women
love
loved
that.
it. The
Yeah,
men
yeah.
loved it. Everybody loved it. Now George Lucas has re-edited it. Greedo shoots first. Han is only able to shoot back in self-defense. He's 3 feet away. He misses him by a foot. It's absurd. It's part of the wussification of men because the individual strong man has to be destroyed. And the convergence side of this thing that we're seeing, where men are being reduced to negotiators who hand sternly worded letters appealing to higher authority of government when somebody's got a gun to your head. The flip side of this is somebody like Scarlett Johansson, who's maybe 5'3" and weighs 100 pounds, with no magical powers, taking out 250-pound security guards. When young girls are starting to believe that they can actually get into physical fights with young boys, and that is going to end badly. And the worst part of it is not just that the women are going to get hurt. When women are constantly portrayed as butt kickers in the movie, it destroys the inhibition that all men my age got, which is you never, ever, 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 ever hit a girl. Ever, 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 ever.
Are you sure you mean ever?
The key word
Never?
there was ever.
Ever. What if
Yeah.
she hits you first? Never. What if she hits you
Never.
with a bat? Never. What if you're
Never.
wearing glasses? Never.
Wow.
Ever. 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 Because we understood, my father, our older generations understood that boys have muscular power
Yes.
and muscular toughness. That means that a woman can hit a man as hard as she wants to. And it's a source of amusing discussion later at the coffee shop.
And you may not even-
If a man hits a woman as hard as he can, he likely could kill her.
Sure.
Wow.
And
Absolutely.
we don't even need to go to the movies to see this. You hear it in the home. How many people have heard this before? I'm having to be both the mommy and the daddy here.
Sure.
Yeah.
And little boys, little girls are being trained to see their mothers as both a male and female figure.
Absolutely.
And then they're raised with that, and
No.
so they're making these strange associations. Yeah, and then kids, they end up a little.
You're right.
Good point.
Wow.
Confused.
Well, men, defenders and protectors. Well, friends, that's it for today. It's been wonderful talking with all of you, Alfonso, Jan, and Bill. Thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you for joining us here today on PolitiChicks, the right kind of PC.